If you're in search of some better performance for your 5.7 liter, this K&N Series 77 High Flow Performance Cold Air Intake will be a great addition to your 2012 to 2021 5.7 liter Toyota Tundra. Now this intake will do a great job at getting rid of the restriction that your factory airbox brought to the table, replacing it with a high flow setup. It's going to help your engine breathe a lot better. Not to mention, this is going to be a great addition if you're tired of swapping out your factory filter every couple thousand miles and you're looking for a filter that's going to be reusable for the lifetime of your truck and a quality intake and offer better filtration for longevity of your motor, then this is going to be a great pick for you. Now by increasing the airflow and streamlining it, this is going to get you some better horsepower, torque, and even some better fuel efficiency from this intake without needing a tune. Now the specific kit will also have a heat shield application to prevent any hot engine bay air from getting to the filter, but I would like to mention if you do go off-road in a wetter climate where you come into contact with mud or water often, I would just keep in mind that this is not as protected as the factory airbox or a closed box system. Now in addition to the performance that you'll see, you'll also be getting a sporty appearance underneath the hood with a polished look and the red filter. Now breaking down the construction of this kit, this is going to come with a high quality oiled filter that will trap all of the contaminants before getting into the intake system and be reusable up to 100,000 miles for your Tundra. Now the heat shield is going to be made of a tough steel material. It is going to be flexible in order to fit that inside your engine bay, and the intake tube here is going to be made of an aluminum material. Now the intake tube obviously is going to take on that classic polished appearance with the coating on top that's going to protect that aluminum underneath. And on the heat shield, there's going to be a textured black powder coat finish to prevent any rusting there. Now this kit is also going to come with everything that you need in order to install it on your truck, including all of the clamps, seals, and hardware, and does not, again, require a tune in order to be installed, making it very straightforward. Now I would also like to mention that this is not going to be CARB certified, so I would keep that in mind as well. When it comes to price, this will come in at roughly $525, putting this at a pretty average price point for a high quality intake system. Now compared to others on the page, this is going to have a straightforward design, yet a high quality and well-fitting components to offer the function and the polished appearance that you may need for your truck. So I think if you're willing to spend a couple extra bucks to get a system that you can rely on and reuse for, again, a long period of time on your Tundra, then this is going to be a great one to pick. Install is going to be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about an hour to get the job done with some pretty basic hand tools. At this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown of the install and what it looks like step by step. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
For this install, you will need an impact, a ratchet, 8 and 10 millimeter sockets, an extension, 10 and 14 millimeter wrenches, 3 and 4 millimeter Allen wrenches, Phillips head screwdriver, and a pair of angle cutters. What's up guys, today we're going to be installing a new intake on our Tundra, but before we get started we're going to send you to watch a short video on how to uninstall your factory intake, and we'll see you when you get back.
Step number 1 guys, of course, pop your hood. We're going to pop our engine cover off. Just lift straight up and set it aside. Next step, let's disconnect our factory sensor here. You're just going to pinch and disconnect that factory harness. Now as you can see, there is a retainer clip here, so we're going to pop that guy off. If you need to, you can grab a panel tool, so let's do that. All right, with a panel removal tool, we'll be able to easily pop that guy off. Next, let's disconnect our 2 hoses here. We have one with a hose clamp and one smaller one. Now what you want to do for these hoses is pinch this hose clamp, and we're going to shuffle it back and off of that fitting, and then pull the hose straight back. For this little guy, we're just going to pull straight off, just like that. Next, let's loosen up the clamp on our throttle body, connecting it to the tubing. Grab a 10 socket and loosen that guy up. Next, we have 2 10 millimeter bolts holding on our factory heat shield to the engine bay. We have 1 10 right down here, and then on the opposite corner of the intake, which you can't see from here. We'll get that off in a second. Let's start here with this one. I'm going to use a longer extension on my impact and get the 10 off. All right. Now you don't have to pull it all the way off because obviously you can see it has this retainer washer. You just want to make sure it's loose, and then repeat that for the other one on the other corner. Opposite corner, same thing. Next, you're just going to pop the entire factory intake off, starting at the throttle body, and then feed that guy out.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Now that we've shown you how to remove your factory intake, there's a few things we need to do to get our new system ready before we can go onto the truck. First of which is going to be to remove our mass airflow sensor from the factory intake tube and swap it over to our new one. So we're going to remove our 2 Phillips head screws here, holding it in place with our Phillips head screwdriver. Set these aside. Then we'll very carefully pull our mass airflow sensor out of the intake tube. Definitely want to take special care not to damage this sensor because it's very important for your vehicle running right, and also they tend to be a little expensive if they need to be replaced. So we'll pull that out, set that aside, and we can go ahead and set our factory intake aside. So now we can install our mass airflow sensor into our new intake tube. Again, very carefully, slide it into place. And you're going to want to orient your connector facing down as opposed to these bungs here for our lines that are going to come off. So if these lines are facing towards you, your connector should be facing down and away. Then we'll secure this with our provided 3mm Allen bolts. First one, run in a couple threads. Get our other one in place here. We'll run these down with our 3mm Allen wrench. Next, we can go ahead and install our fittings for our 1/8 inch vacuum line going from our fuel rail. Go ahead and get that threaded in first here. Followed by our 1/2 inch line for our PCV system. So now that we've got these run in a little bit, we're going to grab our 14mm wrench and very gently tighten these down. There's no need to put any excess force on these as they are plastic and tapered. So once they start feeling good and snug, we'll just let them be. About right there. That feels good. Now our intake tube is ready. So now we're ready to start prepping our heat shield. So first we're going to install our adapter for our intake tube to our air filter. So we go ahead and slide that into place. You'll notice it has these 2 openings here for bolt holes. We'll grab our 2 4mm Allen bolts along with a lock washer and flat washer for each bolt. We'll get this started here, run it in, and we'll grab our other 4mm Allen bolt, again with lock washer and flat washer. Go ahead, put that one in place. And we'll grab our 4mm Allen wrench and go ahead and tighten these down. Now you do want to try to keep this as centered as possible. Next up, we can go ahead and install our seal onto the edges of our heat shield here. It has this groove in it, so it just rides right along the edge here. We'll go ahead and start at a corner, just for nice and easy fitment. Push that down into the groove. And then we're just gonna work our way around the entire perimeter here. Now this will do corners, so there's no need to cut and refit. Take your time, shape it to the corner. Work it down into place. And once you reach the end here, you can go ahead and trim off the excess. So we'll go ahead and do that next. So now we can see where we need to trim back our seal. Get a good mark on that with our hand. And we can take our angle cutters or whatever you may have laying around. Go ahead and trim this back. There we go. So now we're ready to begin installing our mounting brackets onto our heat shield here. So for our first one, this is going to be on the same side as your intake and air filter adapter. It's going to face down towards the arch here. That's going to be your bottom side. So we'll take our bracket and we're going to grab our 10mm bolts, lock washers and flat washers. There's 2 for this one. I'm going to sneak those up through the backside here. We're going to add a spacer. And we'll do that for both of these. And we'll add our spacer. Then we can add our bracket. Another flat washer and a 10mm nut. And we'll go ahead and add our 10mm lock nut again here. And we'll go ahead and get this tightened down. For that we'll use our 10mm wrench, 10mm socket, and our ratchet. Then we can move on to our other brackets. Next we can go ahead and add our inner bracket here, and that is the one that has multiple bends in it. So we'll again grab our 10mm bolt, lock washer, and flat washer. And this one's going to come from the outside to the inside, followed by a spacer again. Then our bracket. Then a flat washer. And our 10mm lock nut. And then again, we'll tighten that down with our 10mm socket and our 10mm wrench. You do want to try to keep this facing pretty much parallel with your heat shield here. Now for our last bracket here, that's going to face outward this way, away from your intake tube adapter. And again, another 10mm bolt, lock washer, and flat washer on the inside here. And we actually need to install one more spacer. We'll get our bracket on, followed by a flat washer. And finally our 10mm lock nut. Then we'll tighten it down with our 10mm wrench and 10mm socket. And again, you want this to be oriented out and away from your heat shield. So now we're getting ready to mount everything up in our engine bay, and first we're going to have to remove this 10mm bolt here that is holding our ground wire in place. So we'll go ahead and use our 10mm socket and extension on our impact to run this out real quick. Pull that out. Then we will also need to remove our horn mounting bracket bolt as well, which is also a 10mm. So now we can go ahead and get our heat shield installed into the truck. Go ahead and drop it in place, lining up with our mounting points here. And we can go ahead and get our hardware installed. So now we can go ahead and start installing our hardware. We're going to start here back with our ground wire mounting point, just as a central spot. We'll go ahead and run that in. I'm not going to fully tighten that down yet, just to allow for room to move for the other ones. Now we can install our next 10mm mounting bolt along with our flat washer up here in our front mounting position. Now we can get our last bracket along with our horn mount back into place. So we'll slide our 10mm bolt in to our bracket along with our horn mounting bracket. We can line that back up. And we'll go ahead and tighten these down with our 10mm socket. I'm just going to reach back here behind with my extension and tighten this bolt down. Now we can get our ground wire mounting bolt tightened down here. Followed by our front mounting bolt here. Now we can go ahead and get our filter in place. So we've got our clamp slid over our filter already. Go ahead and set that on there. And we can tighten down our clamp. And to tighten this down, you can either use a flathead or we can use our 8mm socket. Now we can go ahead and get our first coupler in place on our intake filter adapter here. And we've got our clamp on here, but we're not going to tighten it down just yet to allow for any adjustments we need to make. So next we're going to get our boot installed onto our intake tube here for the throttle body side. And we're just slipping it on right now. We're not tightening anything just yet. We'll get this partially set here. We'll go ahead and throw our clamp onto our filter side here. And we can work our intake tube down onto our throttle body. Work it into our adapter here. So once you have your intake tube in place, we can go ahead and plug in our MAF sensor connector, and then we'll reinstall our two lines over there. And we'll start with our dual rail vacuum line here. And then we'll need to install our union here for our PCV extension hose. We'll go ahead and get that onto here. Slide that into place on our fitting. And then we can work our clamp up from our factory line to our extended line and put that on our fitting. Now we can go ahead and use our 8mm socket on our impact to gently tighten down all of our fittings on our couplers. So now we can go ahead and remove our factory beauty cover locator here up front of our engine using our 10mm wrench. We'll go ahead and pop that loose, unscrew it. We're going to install this extension stud here. Get that run down into place, followed by our extended nut here. And we'll reinstall our factory locator on top of that. And then we can just use our 10mm wrench to go ahead and tighten everything back down all at once. Now we can just go ahead and reinstall our beauty cover. Alrighty guys, that about wraps up our review and install of our K&N Series 77 High Flow Performance Cold Air Intake for your 12 to 21 5.7 liter Tundra. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Tundra, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.